Welcome to a new Daily Top Askreddit video. Today's topic.
What's the meanest thing someone ever said to you? My stepmom found a giant rubber band in my room, then accused me of shooting up heroin. After that she said, "I hope you OD." I was 16. Never seen the stuff. When I worked customer service there was a line that people would sometimes cross. Usually it was swearing at me. And when they crossed it, a weight was lifted from my shoulders. Because once they crossed that line, I knew, in my heart, that they were the crazy one, and I wasn't at fault for how shitty things had gotten. This comment from your mother crosses that line so fast and by so much that you should know, that we all know, she is way fucked up here. Sorry mate, hope you got or get the help you'll probably need. And the hugs and support you doubtlessly deserve. While moving one time, my mom saw a box in my apartment closet labeled, Sharpies. She didn't look inside, didn't do anything. Just yelled at me about how she couldn't believe what she saw and was disgusted by my behavior. She refused to listen to me and still to this day I'm sure believes it was a box full of discarded heroin needles. It was a box of Sharpies. The black markers. I used them for work and always liked to have bulk lol. If she had have just taken 1 second to actually look, nothing would have happened. But like your mom, immediately we're degenerates. Nah bud, I just need markers. That's a really great perspective. I'll remember that. If someone sees a plain-ass rubber band, and their mind immediately goes to heroin, it's because that person did a lot of heroin at some point. She's fucked. Not necessarily, but it's still a problem that needs to be addressed. My mom thought a lot of things were more than what they were, including some thin rubber hosing that I didn't throw out that I thought might be good for something someday. She thought that might be for heroin, and she sure as hell never used, it was just jumping to conclusions. Same as when some long-distance numbers that she didn't recognize showed up on the phone bill, I was calling phone sex lines, or how I wasn't allowed to hang out with the kid in the Megadeth t-shirt, because he was clearly rooting for a mass casualty event. In middle school I had a very slight stammer. I wrote a paper in English class and my teacher was sharing that she really enjoyed it and that you could hear my voice in it a lot. Then someone from the back of the class yells, "What, does he fucking stutter when he types too?" Exclamation mark quote. At the time I was so embarrassed, but honestly that's the greatest burn I've ever received. It always adds a nice twist to it when the burn is so good that you're impressed more than hurt. I don't want him. I never wanted him. My dad, during the custody discussion during my parents' divorce. I was 9. As a dad, fuck that guy. That's some subhuman bullshit. He deserves to live a miserable existence. Seriously. I have a 9 and 7-year-old and I can't even imagine. Makes me cry just thinking about a kid hearing that. That it should have been you who died instead of another family member. You deserved better, Faramir. And surpassed Denethor, son of Echelion, sloppiest eater of all time. That is fucking nasty, I'm so sorry. I appreciate it. I know people say some messed up stuff when they're mourning, but it stuck with me all this time. Nobody likes you and you have no friends. I heard that a lot in elementary school and middle school when I was a kid. It only hurt because it was true. But it hurt a lot. Well, we friends now. What you want on your half of the pizza? Can I also be friends? Exclamation mark. You're weird. Me and my family make fun of you behind your back saying you're autistic. My ex. I fucking hate everyone who uses autism as an insult. Right, like WTF. Honestly, if someone uses autistic as an insult it says a lot more about them than it does about whoever they are talking about. This is how my oldest daughter came to live with me more than her mum. Her mum was bitching to her about me and my kid said something along the lines of, "Go tell him that to his face then, you know he would to you." With what your ex said to you, it just shows how fucking immature some folk are out there. Best left ignored buddy. You will never achieve anything in life, my college tutor. Fuck you lady, yet you were right loudly crying. You'll never amount to anything, Albert. Pauline Einstein, his mother. My brother and I were at Hastings checking out. Some lady looked at my brother and said, "You look like Matt Damon." To which I replied, "What about me?" She looked me up and down and said, "You look like Fat Damon." Mind you, my brother and I are identical twins. And you'll take that L with a smile on your face, young man. Get that lady on a Comedy Central roast stage. That's just funny. Bagged up stuff for a customer and said to her, "Let me know if this too heavy and I can separate into 2 bags. She was on her cell phone and nodded at me. So I total it for her and give her the bag. She makes it to the front door and turns around and says, "You loaded this too heavy, you have to remember not everyone is as heavy as you are," a reference to how fat I was. I was more offended by the fact that she went out of her to insult me, especially when I offered a solution before she walked off, than the fact that she called me fat. The customers behind her were livid though, which was pretty cool lol. This same thing happened to me a few weeks ago. I was the customer behind and I'd like to think I am pretty cool. It wasn't at a Sprouts, was it? Lol, no, it was years ago at a home goods store I worked at. When my ex-wife was leaving me for the person she cheated on me with, as she was walking out she said, "I'll let you keep the dog. You're going to need him." Man, that shit was cold. Dog greater than bitchy, cheating ex though. Absolutely, he's been there for me every step of the way. At the time it was painful though. I'm too old to be thinking of this anymore, but it still is brutal for me. When I was in 7th grade, 2 other 7th graders were standing outside of the classroom my class was exiting from, waiting for us to exit. They were saying, "Wow, look how diverse this class is, Mexican, black, Japanese, white, etc." Then when they got to me, they said, "Ugly," and laughed. I'd never been called ugly before and I've never been called ugly since, but that one has stuck with me. It's also low-key hilarious. Fuck, that's funny. I'll be honest, you were probably just a victim of someone who thought of something really funny and you happened to be there. I assume that would have been said regardless of who it was. My fellow Americans, at this hour we must come together as one, no matter who we are, black, white, Asian, Hispanic, ugly. I mean, I imagine at the time that's a rough fucking thing to hear and I'm sorry for you bro, but that shit is fucking hilarious. Especially if you were eagerly awaiting what they'd call you. You have no future. My mom when I was 17. 26 and killing it, now she swears she believed in me all along. Crazy how parents magically forget all the trauma they inflicted once you move out. The tree remembers, the axe forgets. I'm embarrassed to have been your mother. Similar, my mom said of all her kids, 5 total, I'm the biggest embarrassment. She tried to walk it back later in the day, but I can't unhear it. I was 11 or 12. Damn, at least I was an adult at the time. That's extra rough for an 11 or 12-year-old. I'm so sorry. 5 kids and all of them embarrassments. That's a skill issue. You're just a backup friend, from my supposed best friend after 17 years of friendship. In college, I once heard someone ask someone else, "You ever notice how you're everyone's second best friend?" I still think about that at least once a week. That's one hell of a track record, frankly sounds more like a compliment than not to me. That's really sad. I also used to glorify friendship, but, after a kinda similar incident, I let go. Yeah, I'm down to like 3 to 4 friends and just kinda shrug it off. They all act like shitheads from time to time but are able to redeem themselves and have demonstrated they are all truly friends of mine. Quality over quantity. Before I got my teeth fixed, a girl told me I looked like an evil vampire when I smile. I didn't smile again for 4 years, sad face. I was fortunate to get it fixed, but the rule should be, don't make fun of somebody's smile, or they might never smile again. Oh, I love the little long vampire teeth on people, it's cute. Yes, it can be cute, but I was 17 and you know how girls can be, but it ruined my whole college time. Whenever people had group photos or fun photos, I would always try and hide or keep my mouth closed and everyone asking me to smile. You can't call me when you're like this. My mother when I was suicidal and begging for help. I think this might be the worst one in this thread. I mean, Jesus effing Christ. I hope you're doing better nowadays, Sparkles. Hope you didn't call her after that, ever, not just when you were suicidal. I hope you didn't even think about your egg donor when you were at the high points of your life. Once, someone told me, "You've wasted your potential." It stung deeply, making me question my choices. But, it also sparked a fire within me to prove them wrong. At least they thought you had potential. I was 10 years old and being a little shit. My mother said, "Sometimes I wish you were never born." That was nearly 40 years ago and it still stings. On a positive note, I made sure to never say anything like that to my kids, no matter how frustrated I became. I credit my phenomenal upbringing to how shitty my mom's parents treated her. They gave her the playbook for exactly what not to do, and she did everything in her power to make sure I didn't have the identical experience. You're a good parent. My mother told me that me being born was the reason she stayed with my abusive father rather than taking my oldest sibling and running. She didn't mean it to hurt me, but I hate that my existence is why she wasted so much of her life with an asshole. My mother did this with me. Kept getting beat because she believed a boy needs their father in their life. Strongest woman I've ever known, but put herself through so much shit on my behalf. Me, would you like to go out with me sometime? Her, with you? Dear God, no. Now fuck off and never speak to me again. The worst she can say is no. Her, carrot carrot carrot. I saw another post where his crush said, "Am I that ugly that you thought you had a chance?" And then she started crying. I asked a girl to dance at a high school dance. She was a cheerleader. She laughed at me, rolled her eyes and turned around without even saying no. And then she went on to marry my first cousin, who was a star football player. They're still together and I get to see them both at family events and have mostly forgotten about the thing at the dance. Two things have helped lessen that sting. I later realized I was gay. She's been morbidly obese for the last 20 years. My wife told me she wouldn't give me a back massage because I'm so fat she wouldn't know where to start. As a fat married guy, I love this one. You're a good-looking guy for being in a wheelchair. Ouch. I was at a party, and an ex-friend of mine was drunk talking to everybody. She was a fairly promiscuous lady, and was turning to each guy at the party, saying some nice things about them, and then saying that they'd be a good fuck. Again, she was pretty hammered. After going down the line, she finally got to me and said, "But you're just somebody that someone would just settle for." At a party with at least 20 dudes that she said would be a good smash, and had kind things to say, I was the only one that caught any shade. Note, I never was trying to get with her at all, and while this isn't close to the most awful thing someone said about me, the sheer sincerity in her drunken stupor when she said it, and it being in a very public setting hurt, and I felt extremely betrayed. I've had more than one drunk girl make it clear that I will never be attractive because of my height, 5'3", without absolutely no provocation. I wasn't even speaking to them, they felt the need to make sure I knew. Christ, on behalf of women, I'm so sorry. This is abhorrent. There's a phenomenon that I think people don't talk about enough where women, #not all women in fairness, when in a safe enough setting, will absolutely feel like they need to let the men in the room know where they stand in the hierarchy. I was at a friend's house for game night not too long ago when his wife made sure to let me know I was too short to be attractive. "You have to be at least 6 feet to ride," was the expression she used at some point. Beyond the fact I respect my friend and his marriage, and would never do something so gross as hit on her, she is not even my type. There is no world in which I have expressed even a modicum of romantic intent. How and why she felt justified to tell me I wasn't good enough to sleep with is utterly baffling, especially because it felt out of nowhere. We talked several times before that and always been in good standing, I'd thought. And it's definitely not the first time in my life I'd been the target of it or seen it happen to another guy. I can remember instances all the way back to middle school where a girl I'd never once spoken to turned to my friend and me in line and said, to him, "You're ugly but you're smart, so some girl will probably like you when you're rich. But you," turning to me with disgust, "you're just going to work at Walmart forever or something, and nobody will want you." I will hear, "Nobody will want you," in that 13-year-old girl's voice rattling around in my head until the day that I die. The hilarious part is they're almost always wrong because they think men are judged the same as women. The truth is we're judged completely differently. My former best friend's girlfriend yelled in my face that I wasn't her type when she somehow thought I was hitting on her while not speaking to her, looking in her general direction, or interacting with her in any way. I asked my friend how was that acceptable and he just said she was drunk. I said, "Good deal, I'll carry a flask on me and down it," and then yell that at any future girlfriend of his. He said that wasn't okay. I'm like, "But it'll just be because I'm drunk," and I asked what the difference was. He couldn't come up with any answer and yeah, we weren't friends after that.